In this section we're going to be doing small videos, just quick videos on repairs and different modifications you can do to your hardware if you need to save you money, or if you're just interested in, you know, as a hobbyist, messing around with your hardware and doing something different. So today what you can see in front of you is an Acer ES1-111m laptop. These are one of the very lightweight 13-inch laptops. It has the onboard 32 gig MMC drive. It's I think it's a 2840 Celeron dual core processor, and it's got 2 GB of RAM. RAM's located underneath the board here. You actually have to take the board out to get to that. And this is where the hard drive goes on other models. And as you can see, the actual SATA port isn't soldered in on this model. So the battery normally goes in this section here, and what I'll be doing today is the touchpad has got an intermittent problem where sometimes it will work and then sometimes it will become unresponsive even. Getting that right. So the reason for this, generally speaking, is due to the earth point. You've got 2 earth points here, one isn't being used, and the earth point here, if it isn't connected properly and isn't getting earthed, it will cause a problem whereby the earth will, it's called earth leakage I think, and therefore the touchpad won't work properly itself. So what we're going to do today is we'll be soldering a piece of wire here, and then we'll be soldering onto the metal plate, which will be earthed itself through the motherboard, well, through the power jack of the motherboard. So one thing you've got to be careful of, obviously this circuit board here is the touch circuit board. You want to solder this very quickly. You don't want much heat going on here. There is a risk when I do this that the touchpad will warp slightly. The reason I'm doing this, I don't use this laptop often. I'd like to, you know, sell it on and flip it for a bit of a profit. If all goes well, I'll be able to do that. If it does warp the touchpad, then I will be keeping this, probably to do experiments, maybe a Hackintosh, seeing if we can get Mac OS on this laptop with only a 32 gig MMC. But let's just have a look at the rest of the laptop. Now the motherboard is here, it's just in frame, very small, everything's integrated. You've got Intel HD graphics on here, you've got HDMI at the top, you've got USB 3, USB 2, LAN, and of course the power jack. The 2 speakers are flanked over here, and basically, aside from the Wi-Fi module which is just here, there's not much else to this laptop. I mean, it's very good. The battery, let's see if I can get it on screen, because I haven't got the right tripod for my camera. So this is the battery here, 2670 milliamp hour, 30 watt hour battery. It lasts for about 5 hours on average. I think you can squeeze a bit more out of it. And this is what these are designed for. They're basically almost like a next generation netbook. Not very good for productivity, not very good for gaming, but what they are good for is web browsing, and maybe if you want to play a bit of music. When I used to use this, a really good thing about it is it has a USB 3 port, so I have a very small USB 3 128 gig drive, and I used to just have that in the back of the laptop, which still leaves your USB 2 freed up if you want to use a mouse or something like that, and that provided the main storage. I was able to update this to Windows 10 Creators Update, which a lot of people have had trouble with because of the small capacity of the hard drive, and we may do another video on that, and I can show you how to do that on a limited amount of space. Anyway, let's try and get on with the repair. So like I say, it's a quick video, so you know, I've taken this apart already, you don't need to see that, and I've also prepped the piece of wire which is here, just a standard piece of wire, and we're going to make sure the contacts are good. I think we need to snip that one, it's a little bit long. Use my trusty snips, cut that down a bit, don't need it to be that long, and hopefully, there we go. So as you can see, just a small end of the contact which we're going to put on here. So what we're going to do first, we're going to solder it onto the touchpad first, and then we will finish by soldering it onto this plate here, which is actually where the hard drive would have gone. I mean, I've got a hard drive here, it's not a low profile one, but literally I think it would have gone in like that. It's such a shame they didn't leave the hard drive port in. Well, I say didn't leave it in, didn't put it in the first place. It would have been a really nice addition for upgradability, because the RAM slot on here isn't soldered on. So I did have this when I was using it on 8 gig of RAM, which actually was a nice boost. And it'd be nice to be able to put a hard drive in, maybe an SSD, just to speed it up a bit, because MMC, while it is flash memory, isn't the fastest. It's closer to an SD or micro SD card sort of speeds than it is a SATA drive. So we are going to use some solder, and we're going to use my trusty soldering iron. This one's actually butane, and I really like using a cordless soldering iron. For this we don't need very high temperatures to get this small amount of wire on, and to activate this soldering iron you have to light it. So we start the gas, you can probably hear it hissing, and then we just light it. We wait for the element to start glowing all the way around. As you can see, it started glowing. I am left-handed, so this may become slightly awkward, we shall see. Let's increase the power to it, let's get some more heat to it, I think. As you can see, it's starting to glow. So the first thing we want to do, and I may have to do this off camera, is to coat the cable in soldering iron. In solder. So I'll just do it over here, because then that will be easier. If we do it now, we coat the wire, then we can use that to stick it to the contact on the touchpad, and if we need to apply any more we can. Whoops, I am rusty. Okay, that's coated. I'm going to turn down the heat on this a little bit. And now we literally, as you can see, we just want to put this on and heat it very as quick as we can, really. We'll make sure none of the wire is going off onto the PCB. Okay, hopefully we'll leave that to really dry. What we'll do, I'm going to set my soldering iron down somewhere where it won't burn everything, and I think the best thing is to get some trusty insulation tape. To be honest, I like putting insulation tape if I need to, quite literally anywhere I do it, because it's the safest option. So let me just grab some insulation tape. I think we're going to go for red. What I'm going to do is just put a bit over that joint there. I mean, once the laptop's put back together, the battery is actually going to go straight on top of this. So it will hold the wire in place, but we'll just put some insulation tape on top. That will minimise the movement. And now we are going to put some solder on the end of this wire here, and we are going to attempt. I don't really want. I should have done this end. I should have done this end as well at the same time, but I'm not that rusty. Okay, there we go. So we've got a good splodge on there, and we're going to. It doesn't really matter where you do it. This frame is actually earthed completely, so I'd like to put it somewhere maybe here. There we go. So we've got it on. I think we need a little bit more, because just to reinforce the connection. There we go. And then we're just going to bring this over. Like I say, my soldering skills aren't professional, I wouldn't say I'm the worst solderer in the world. I could do with some practice. I think I'm happy with that. Maybe a little bit more in the middle there. So, let's turn the soldering iron off. And while I would tell everyone, you know, test things before you put them back together. But the thing is with this, because of the way it's been installed, and there's going to be different pieces of the hardware touching it and putting pressure on it. I think with any modification like this, unfortunately, it's always best to put it back together and screw it back together, because I've found that I've done some modifications or repairs and they've worked fine until I've put it together, and it's been some sort of pressure somewhere has caused the joint not to make contact, or a wire to break maybe. So while it's awkward, I would say it's always worth just putting it all back together. So as you can see, I've put a bit of insulation tape in. I'm going to put a bit more, and it won't look pretty, but it will hold everything in place. And whoever buys this, the thing is, it's going to work. If this wire was to come off, it wouldn't touch anything or break anything. So interestingly, this I'm going to try and zoom out on the web camera. We're actually on a webcam at the moment, so let's zoom out a bit. Here we go. Okay, so I'm putting the frames back on now. It's just got these small plastic frames that are these frames flank the battery. Solder cools quite quickly. I mean, this bit of the plastic frame here quite nicely is over that. So now we're going to put the battery back in. As you can see, the full size of this battery now, it takes up over a third of the entire case. And I do like, you know, it's a very light laptop. It's well built, but I think they've really cheaped out here on the touchpad. It's a Semantics touchpad. But hopefully this modification will work. So what we're going to do now is power it on, and hopefully it will work. So you've got the power button just here. When I do that, well. Hopefully I haven't destroyed this. Power it back off, and we're going to open it back up, I suppose. Let's get the camera back in a position where you can see. Okay, so battery's connected. This here's the keyboard connector. We've got the Wi-Fi here. Obviously we've done our modification, and to be honest, I'm a little concerned as to why it won't power on. So what we're going to do is we'll hold down the reset button on here. I mean, to be honest, there's not that many BIOS settings anyway, but let's just reset that. And we shall put the bottom case back on. We're not going to put the screws in because there's 4, 8, 12, 13 screws. We'll plug that into the back. So, and we will power. And that is connected, yeah. So we're still only getting blue light. I'm not going to show you the screen right now because I think we're going to have the backpack off pretty quick. Right, we get nothing at all from that. Let's power it off. So what I'm going to do now is just reset. I think the only other thing we can do is, stupidly, I think you should see the underside of this now, because I did replace the RAM. Now it had 8 GB in it, which worked absolutely fine, but I wanted that for my Core 2 Duo MacBook. that I upgraded to High Sierra. And I put the 2 gig that came with it back in. So what we're going to do actually, we're going to extend this video and I'm going to show you how to access the RAM. One thing I'm not going to do, or one thing I am going to do I think, because I put a third party stick into this, and I think the best thing to do is, we could safely assume, no, I won't say that, we can assume, we can infer that that stick may not be working in this laptop. With this laptop also, that you have to disconnect, I hate these aerials on these PCI Express handcards, but you have to disconnect this and actually take the screw out. There's 3 screws holding it on once you've opened the chassis, and they are shown by the arrows, and there are other screws that will hold it down. However, what I'm not going to disconnect is the display, because I hate disconnecting those. So as you can see, not very easily. Let's move that over. I've got the RAM DIMM here. I mean, that one's in clean. However, it isn't the original. So, well, we'll put the original back in. Looks okay to me. I'm going to put this back in. Best thing to do is we're going to put this stick in. Like so. And we're going to put the motherboard back. And again, we'll connect everything up and we'll test it without putting it back together. Now I know I said to put it back together, but what I found is once the back is actually clipped on, it's applying the same sort of pressure from what I can tell that the battery is anyway. So the battery is here, that's screwed down. So we know, but we can infer there's not going to be any more pressure applied to that area by screwing it back. So be very careful. It's always good also when you're doing this to have some blunt tweezers if you need them to put these delicate cables back. I found, you know, and I say blunt tweezers, I just think that if you don't use blunt tweezers, then you have a chance of ripping these ribbons. And I hate these connections. I understand why they need to be so delicate, but yeah, I'm not a fan. Anyway, we've got the speakers back in, touchpad, battery, keyboard, and we never took out the connection there. And that's screwed down, and put the aerial cables back, and I hate putting these back there, they're going really easily. Or part of the frame actually of the aerials bends. I've never been a fan of these connections. Sometimes I've got the knack, sometimes I haven't. That isn't screwed down enough. Give a few more twists. You don't want to thread these, because what will happen is you've got brass fittings in here, and it won't thread the brass. What it will do is just snap the plastic. You see these fittings here, you see? It will just, oh, there's got a bit of solder there. Crikey. Let's get that out, we don't want that in the way. Yeah, so if you over tighten these points, you'll end up just, they will rip themselves out of the plastic housing. And I've bought a lot of laptops, in fact, and made money off them by repairing that sort of thing, but I don't want to do it myself. Let's put the housing back on, and hopefully it's a RAM issue. I mean, if this doesn't work, then what I may have to do, for point of reference, is to take the 8GB DIMM out of my MacBook and try that, because there we go, backlit screen, and we've got the logo. Right, I'm happy now. Very strange that stick didn't work. Very odd. Maybe it doesn't work at all. Not too bothered. It's only 2 gig of DDR3. So there we go. We're booted up. We're not going to be. Are we going to be connected to Wi-Fi? Yeah. Okay. make sure everything's okay, create a new user, and then securely wipe my account. So we're now going into the screen. That's a lovely picture of me there, as you can see. Okay, it's working. Will it stay working? That's the question. So guys, look, this is the end of the video. You can see the touchpad's working, but it was an intermittent problem. So this really, the proof is in the pudding. I've just got to wait for it now, play with it a bit, just to see what happens, to be honest. I'm hoping it doesn't reoccur, because I think I get a nice little profit for this machine. I don't use it anymore, and I'm one of these people. I love tech, but I feel like you shouldn't hang on to it if you don't use it. Don't hang on to it. Flip it, sell it on. It can go towards new hardware. I mean, I do it a lot with my gaming PC. If I want to upgrade it, I'll always sell the old piece of hardware to supplement my purchase. Same with these items, you know, if this is fit for purpose, but I don't have a purpose for it anymore, so for me it needs to go, to be honest, and hopefully someone else will appreciate it. Okay, yeah, both the buttons are still working, so I'm going to shut this down. Oh, it needs an update. Shut down, update and shut down. So there we go. So folks, there we go. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, click the little bell icon, so when we do bring out new videos, you'll get a notification of them. I hope you really enjoyed. Please share this amongst your friends.